The broken beginning. The night was cold and empty, the air heavy with dust and silence. In the dark corners of a forgotten alien marketplace, a small figure sat trembling. She was an alien girl, her skin faintly glowing with a strange pale light. Her eyes, wide and full of fear, searched the shadows for someone who might care, but no one came. Her own people had abandoned her there. They called her worthless. They whispered that she was weak, useless, and broken. They had carried her into the marketplace like one would throw away broken tools. Then they left her there, without even looking back. Merchants walked by with no pity in their eyes. Some sneered. Others laughed. They pointed at her small, fragile body and shook their heads. To them, she was not a child, not even a person. She was nothing more than discarded junk. The girl curled her knees to her chest. She hugged herself tightly, trying to stay warm. She did not cry loudly, for she knew no one would care. Instead, her tears slid quietly down her cheeks. She had been told her entire life that she was worthless, and now the truth of those cruel words surrounded her completely. But far away, footsteps echoed, slow, steady, human footsteps. A traveler, a man from Earth, walked through the same marketplace. His clothes were dusty from a long journey, his eyes sharp. His gaze moved carefully from stall to stall, ignoring the noise of merchants, until he noticed something unusual. In the shadow between two broken walls, he saw her, a small glowing figure, trembling and alone. He paused. At first he thought she was some kind of broken machine, a discarded device that still carried faint light. But then she lifted her head, and her glowing eyes met his. For a long moment, the human stood frozen. He felt something in those eyes, something that pierced deeper than words. They were not the eyes of junk. They were not the eyes of a machine. They were the eyes of someone alive, someone who had been left behind. Around him, voices rose. A merchant laughed and said, "Do not look at her. Human, she is worthless. She is a mistake of her kind. Leave her where she belongs." Another one shouted, "If you touch her, you will regret it. She brings nothing but trouble." The man did not answer. He simply stepped closer. His boots touched the dust near her small form. The girl flinched. She had been treated with cruelty all her life, and she expected the same from him. She lowered her head, waiting for harsh words, or perhaps a kick. But instead, the human knelt down slowly. His voice was calm. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The alien girl did not answer. She only stared at him, shocked that he had spoken to her with gentleness. No one had asked if she was hurt before. They had only told her she was useless. The merchants grew louder, trying to push him away. "Do not waste your time," they said. "She cannot work. She cannot fight. She cannot even serve. She is trash." But the man's eyes never left hers. He saw the dirt on her skin, the bruises on her arms, the trembling of her body, and he felt anger rise in his chest. He extended his hand slowly. The girl hesitated. Her people had discarded her. Why would this stranger care? She thought it was a trick. She thought perhaps he would mock her too. Yet there was something in his eyes, steady, strong, unshaken. Finally, with trembling fingers, she reached out and touched his hand. It was warm, solid, and real. She felt a strange spark in her chest, a spark of hope she had never felt before. The human stood, lifting her gently to her feet. She was light, almost weightless, as if she carried nothing but sorrow. He looked at the merchants and said firmly, "She is not worthless." His words silenced the crowd for a moment. Then came the laughter again, harsh and cruel. "Then take her," one shouted. "Take the mistake. If you want garbage, it is yours," another mocked. "You will regret it. Human, she will only bring you misery." But the man did not care. He placed his cloak around the girl's shoulders and guided her away from the marketplace. The voices faded behind them, but the girl's heart beat loudly in her chest. For the first time in her life, someone had claimed her. Someone had refused to see her as worthless. As they walked away into the dark road, the girl glanced at him. Her lips trembled as she whispered softly in her alien tongue, words he could not understand, yet he knew what they meant. He could feel it. They were words of fear, of disbelief, and maybe, just maybe, of fragile hope. The human said nothing, but his grip on her hand grew stronger. He would not let her go. Not now. Not ever. The night wind blew cold across the barren land, but beneath his cloak, The girl felt warmth for the first time, and deep in the silence, she thought to herself, perhaps she was not worthless after all. A human's choice. The road outside the marketplace was quiet. The stars above burned faintly in the alien sky. The human walked slowly, the small alien girl beside him. His cloak wrapped around her trembling shoulders. Her eyes still carried doubt, as if she could not believe he had taken her away. Every step felt strange to her. She had always been pushed, dragged, or abandoned. Never before had someone walked beside her as if she mattered. She looked up at him from time to time, her glowing eyes studying his face. Was this a dream, she wondered, or some cruel trick waiting to reveal itself? The human did not speak much. His jaw was set, his eyes forward, yet his hand never released hers. He guided her carefully, avoiding broken stones on the path, shielding her from the cold wind with his body. It was as if he had already decided something, though he had not spoken it aloud. Behind them, faint voices echoed. Some merchants still shouted after him, calling him a fool, telling him he would regret his choice. Their laughter rang like iron chains, but the human never looked back. He walked forward with steady steps. The girl finally whispered, her voice soft and broken. "Why? Human, why did you take me?" She expected no answer, but his voice came firm and steady. "Because no one deserves to be left like that." His words struck her heart like fire. No one had ever spoken to her that way. Her own people had said she deserved abandonment. Her kind had named her worthless. Yet this human, who did not even know her name, claimed otherwise. She lowered her gaze, her lips trembling. "But I am nothing," she said. "I cannot fight. I cannot work. I am a burden." The human stopped walking. He turned and knelt so his eyes met hers. "You are alive," he said simply. "That is enough." The girl could not hold his gaze. Tears welled in her glowing eyes. She wanted to believe his words, but a lifetime of pain chained her heart. She shook her head, whispering again, "They will laugh at you. They will hate you for keeping me." He gave a small smile, one filled with quiet strength. "Let them laugh," he replied. "I do not live for their voices." Then he stood, tightened the cloak around her, and began walking again. The road grew darker, and soon they reached a small camp at the edge of the town. A fire burned low, casting warm light over the sand. The human guided her to sit near the flames. She sat stiffly, afraid to touch anything, afraid to break some invisible rule. He handed her a piece of bread, simple and dry. Her hands shook as she held it. To her, it felt like treasure. She sniffed it, uncertain, then looked at him. He nodded once. She took a small bite, and tears ran down her cheeks as she swallowed. It was the first meal given to her freely, without chains, without insults. The human said nothing. He simply watched, making sure she ate, making sure she grew warm. In his silence, she found more kindness than in 1,000 loud promises. When the fire burned low, the girl lay down on the ground, wrapping the cloak around her. Sleep came slowly, for fear still haunted her. She thought he might abandon her while she slept. She thought he might change his mind. But when her eyes closed, she felt his steady presence beside her, guarding the fire, guarding her. Hours passed, and the night grew heavy. The girl woke once in the darkness. She heard the human whispering softly to himself. "What have I done?" he murmured. His voice carried both doubt and resolve. "They will call me a fool. They may even hunt me, but I will not leave her." The girl closed her eyes again. Her chest ached with emotions she could not name. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her, not for power, not for use, not for gain, but for something else she could not yet understand. Morning came with pale light over the horizon. The girl sat up slowly. The human was already awake, preparing his small pack. He handed her a small flask of water. She drank, feeling strength return to her fragile body. He looked at her once more, his eyes steady. "From now on," he said, "you walk beside me." His words were not a question. They were a promise. She nodded slowly, though her heart still shook with fear. But deep inside, she felt something she had never felt before. A spark, a flame of fragile hope. Maybe, just maybe, she was not worthless after all. The silent bond. The campfire from the night before had burned out, but its faint smoke still curled in the cold morning air. The human packed his things quickly, his movements practiced and sharp. He had traveled many roads before, yet this day felt heavier than most. Beside him, the alien girl sat quietly, her small hands clutching the edge of his cloak. She did not ask where they were going. She did not ask why he had chosen her. Silence clung to her like armor. For years, her silence had been her only defense. If she spoke too much, her people mocked her. If she cried, they punished her. Silence had been her only shield. But as they walked, the human noticed the way she stayed close. Her steps matched his. Even though she stumbled at times, she walked with him as if afraid that if she let go, she would vanish again. He glanced down at her. She was fragile, thinner than he had expected, yet her glowing eyes carried something he could not name, not weakness, not fear, but a shadow of strength hidden deep. By midday, they reached a quiet stream. The human let his pack fall. He cupped water in his hands and drank. The girl followed carefully. Kneeling at the edge, she saw her reflection ripple in the water, and for the first time in years, she studied herself. Her reflection did not look worthless. Her glowing skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Her eyes, though tired, carried light. Still, her mind whispered the cruel words of her people. She lowered her head quickly, ashamed of what she saw. The human noticed. He spoke softly. "Why do you hide from your own reflection?" The girl shook her head. "It is not me I hide from," she whispered. "It is the words they left inside me." His jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. Instead, he pulled a small piece of cloth from his pack and handed it to her. "Dry your hands," he said. She obeyed. Though confusion clouded her face, even the smallest act of care felt strange. That night, they camped beneath a rocky hill. The girl fell asleep early, wrapped in his cloak, but in the darkness, she stirred, her lips moved, whispering sounds in her alien tongue, words carried like secrets into the night. The human listened, though he could not understand. At first he thought she was dreaming, but the rhythm of her whispers was too steady, too broken to be dreams. It was a story, a memory. He leaned closer, hearing fragments. "They feared me. They said the light was wrong. They said I would bring ruin." Her voice cracked, then faded into silence. The human sat back, his eyes narrowed. He understood only pieces, but those pieces struck deep. This girl was not abandoned for weakness. She had been abandoned for something else, something her people feared. In the morning, he asked her gently, "What were you saying in your sleep?" Her eyes widened. She turned her face away. "Nothing," she said quickly. "Only dreams." But he knew it was not only dreams. He did not push her. He only nodded and said, "When you are ready, you will tell me." They continued their journey. The road grew harsher, rocks and dry winds cutting their pace. The girl stumbled often, but each time she fell, the human lifted her without anger. His patience surprised her. She was used to strikes and shouts, not steady hands that pulled her back to her feet. One evening, as the sun bled red into the horizon, they reached a ruined watchtower. The human chose it for shelter. Inside, broken stones lay scattered, and wild vines crawled over the walls. The girl sat in the corner, hugging her knees, watching as he lit a small fire. Finally, she whispered, "Why do you not ask me what I am?" All the others asked. They mocked, they feared, but you do not ask. The human looked at her through the firelight, his eyes steady. "Because what you are does not matter to me. Who you are matters more." Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe those words, but doubt still poisoned her heart. She shook her head, whispering, "You do not understand. If I tell you, you will leave me too." The fire cracked between them. His voice remained calm. "Then I will wait until you are ready." She stared into the flames, her silence heavy with secrets. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps this human was strong enough to face the truth she carried. But deep in the shadows outside the tower, unseen eyes watched. Figures cloaked in darkness whispered among themselves. "She is alive." One hissed. "The worthless one still breathes," another replied. "The human has taken her. He must not know what she truly is." The girl shivered suddenly, though she did not know why. She pulled the cloak tighter, and the human glanced at her, sensing her unease. He did not know that danger had already begun to follow them. The truth revealed. The ruined watchtower stood silent under the pale moon. The fire inside flickered low, painting shadows across the cracked stones. The human sat awake. his eyes scanning the dark. The girl slept near the wall, her breathing shallow, her glowing skin casting faint light like a fragile lantern. He had learned not to trust quiet nights. Too often silence was the mask of danger, and tonight, he felt the weight of unseen eyes. Still, he kept his hand on the hilt of his blade, ready if the shadows moved. The girl stirred in her sleep. A whisper escaped her lips again, but this time it was louder, clearer. The human leaned closer, and the words fell heavy. They feared me. The light in me. They said it would consume them. His jaw tightened. His suspicion grew stronger. This girl was not thrown away for weakness. She was thrown away because of power. Power her people could not control. When morning came, he asked her gently again, "What is it they feared in you?" She froze, her eyes wide. She wanted to lie, to keep her secret buried, but something in his voice, steady, unshaken, pulled the words out of her chest. "They called me cursed," she whispered. "When I was born, my skin glowed brighter than others. My blood carried light. They said it was poison. They said if I lived, I would bring ruin to them." The human listened without interrupting, his gaze calm. His silence told her to continue. "My clan gathered," she said, her voice trembling. "Some wanted to end me at birth, but the elders said to wait. They watched as I grew. They thought the light might fade, but it grew stronger. They said I was dangerous. They said I was unfit to live among them. So they dragged me to the marketplace and left me to be forgotten." Her words fell like stones in the air, heavy and unbroken. She hugged her knees tightly, refusing to look at him. She expected him to recoil, to fear her as they did. But instead, the human reached into his pack and tossed her a small piece of bread. "Eat," he said simply. "We will need strength." Her eyes widened, confusion spread across her face. "You are not afraid," she whispered. "You should be. My own people cast me out. Why do you not fear me?" He gave a faint smile. "Because I have seen worse than light in the blood," he said. "Fear does not guide me. Choice does." She stared at him, her lips parting. For a moment, she thought he was lying, but there was no lie in his eyes, only steady fire. Before she could answer, a sharp sound echoed from outside. The human stiffened, his hand gripped his blade. He motioned for silence. The girl's breath caught in her throat. Outside, voices hissed in the alien tongue, the same words she had heard all her life. "Worthless one," "mistake," "cursed child." Her body froze. She recognized those voices, warriors from her clan. They had tracked her here. The human moved silently to the tower wall, peering through a crack. In the distance, shadows shifted. 3 figures cloaked in armor stood near the stream, weapons glowing faintly. They were hunting. The girl's chest tightened. Her voice shook. "They will not stop. They fear me too much. They will kill you if you stay near me." The human turned, his eyes hard. "Then they will learn fear of me." She shook her head violently. "You do not understand. They are not like merchants. They are warriors, trained to kill. They will destroy you." He crouched beside her, gripping her shoulder firmly. "Listen to me," he said. "I did not take you to throw you away. I chose you, and I do not regret my choice. No one will take you from me." Her heart hammered. The words broke through the chains of doubt, yet fear still clung to her. She had seen her people strike down anyone who stood in their path. But the human's eyes carried something different, something stronger than fear, resolve. The shadows outside moved closer. The air grew tense. The girl's hands trembled as light began to flicker through her skin. The glow grew brighter the more fear consumed her. The human saw it and whispered sharply, "Control it." She looked at him with panic. "I cannot," she cried softly. "It comes when I am afraid." He leaned closer, his voice steady as stone. "Then look at me, not them me." Her eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, the glow steadied. It still burned faintly, but no longer wild, no longer chaotic. The warriors outside halted, their voices whispering again. They had seen the glow. They knew she was alive. Their leader raised his weapon, pointing at the tower. The human's hand tightened on his sword. The girl's body shook with fear. She whispered, "They are coming." He stood tall, his cloak brushing the ground, his blade catching the morning light. "Let them," he said. "If they want you, they will have to pass through me first." The girl's chest ached. No one had ever spoken those words for her. No one had ever stood against her clan. In that moment, she realized this human was not simply a traveler. He was something else, something unyielding. The shadows outside began to move. The first step toward battle had been taken. The rising conflict. The air outside the ruined tower grew heavy. The sun barely touched the horizon. Yet the shadows of armored warriors stretched long and sharp. The girl clutched the human's cloak, her glowing skin trembling with fear. Her voice shook. "They will not stop. They will kill you to take me." The human did not move back. His boots dug into the stone floor. His hand rested firmly on his blade. His eyes burned with calm fire. "Then they will learn what it means to fight a human," he said. The girl shook her head, her tears bright against her pale face. "You do not understand. They are not merchants, not travelers. They are trained killers." Her voice dropped. "And they fear me so much. They will burn everything to erase me." Outside, the warriors tightened their circle. Their leader, a tall alien wrapped in black armor, raised his weapon high. His voice echoed cold. "Give her to us, human. She is cursed. She belongs to death. Hand her over and walk away." The human stepped forward, his figure outlined by the dim firelight behind him. His voice thundered back. "She belongs to no one but herself." The girl gasped. Her chest ached with emotions she could not name. No one had ever defended her with such certainty. Her people had only called her worthless. Yet this man stood before warriors with no fear in his voice. The alien leader snarled. "You are a fool, human. Do you know what you protect? That glow in her blood is poison. It will consume all who touch it." The human's grip on his blade tightened, but his voice was steady. "I do not care what her blood holds. I see a life, and I will protect it." The warriors hissed, spreading out across the ruins. Their weapons glimmered with sharp light. They moved like hunters, patient and deadly. The human knew they were trained for battle, but he had not lived his life untested. He pushed the girl gently behind him. "Stay low," he ordered. "Do not run. Stay with me." She wanted to argue, to beg him to leave her, but her voice broke before the words could escape. She nodded, her eyes wide with both fear and something stronger, trust. The first warrior charged. His blade sliced through the air with alien speed. The human met him with steel. The clash rang loud. Sparks flew across the stone. The girl cried out, covering her ears as the fight began. The human moved with precision, his strikes heavy and sure. He was no stranger to combat. Each swing carried the weight of battles long past. The alien stumbled back, surprised at the strength of a man he had called weak. But more came. Two warriors rushed at once, their blades flashing like lightning. The human blocked one, then turned and drove his shoulder into the other, sending him crashing against the wall. Yet pain burned across his arm. A blade had cut through his sleeve, blood staining the fabric. The girl's eyes widened. Her body trembled. The glow inside her surged brighter. "Stop," she whispered, her voice filled with fear. The light spread across her skin like fire beneath glass. The alien leader saw it and shouted, "Do not let her awaken. Strike her down." The human moved instantly, blocking the path of another warrior. His blade clashed again, the sound of iron on alien steel shaking the ruined tower. He shouted back, "You will not touch her." The girl's glow grew wilder. She tried to control it, but fear made it stronger. Her hands shook as light poured from her palms. The ground beneath her cracked faintly. She gasped, horrified by the power she had hidden for so long. The human turned quickly, his voice sharp but steady. "Look at me, not them, me." Her glowing eyes locked onto his. Her chest rose and fell with ragged breath. Slowly, the light steadied, not fading, but no longer wild. She whispered, "I cannot hold it." "You can," he replied firmly. "Because you are not worthless. You are more than what they told you." The alien warriors hesitated, their faces shifting between fear and rage. The leader snarled, raising his weapon once more. "Enough. Kill them both." They charged together. The human braced himself, his blade shining with defiance. But before the strike could land, the girl's body flared. A shockwave of light burst outward, throwing dust and stone into the air. The warriors stumbled back, shielding their eyes. The human staggered but held his ground, His cloak whipped in the wind of her power. He turned to her, his voice sharp but protective. Control it. Do not let it break you. Her body trembled. Her glow burned like a star. Tears ran down her face. I never wanted this. I only wanted to be normal. The alien leader shouted over the chaos. She is death. Human. She will consume you, as she consumes all. The human raised his blade high, blood running down his arm. His voice roared. Then I will burn beside her, but I will never let her stand alone. The girl froze. His words cut through her fear like lightning. For the first time, she felt the power inside her not as a curse, but as strength, not as something that made her worthless, but something that made her different. Her glow shifted, no longer wild and broken, but sharp and steady. She stood, her eyes blazing with fierce light. The warriors hesitated, stepping back. Their whispers filled the air. It is true, the cursed one has awakened. The human stood at her side, his blade ready. She stood beside him, her glow spreading across the ruins. Together, they faced the circle of enemies. The battle was not over. The true storm had only begun. Sacrifice and strength. The ruins shook with the force of battle. The alien girl's glow spread across the stones like living fire. Her body trembled with power she could barely contain. The human stood beside her, his blade steady, his eyes locked on the approaching warriors. The alien leader hissed orders, his voice sharp. Do not fear her light. Kill the human first. He is weak. Without him, she will fall. The girl's chest tightened. Fear clawed at her heart. She wanted to scream, to beg them to stop, but before she could speak, the warriors charged. The human met them head-on. His blade rang against theirs. Sparks flew into the night air. He fought with strength born from will, not from size or power. Every strike he made was heavy, every block precise. But the warriors were many. They circled him like wolves around prey. The girl cried out, "Stop, please." Her glow flared wildly, but she could not bring it under control. The human shouted back without looking at her. "Do not let them see your fear. Hold it steady." Blood stained his sleeve again. A blade cut across his side. His body staggered, but he did not fall. He pushed forward with fury, striking one warrior down. The alien leader laughed coldly. "You bleed. Human, you will die for nothing. That creature you protect will destroy you in the end." The human's teeth clenched, his voice roared. "Then I die with honor. You will never touch her." Another strike came fast, faster than before. The human blocked, but the blade slipped through, cutting deep into his shoulder. He fell to one knee. His sword trembled in his grip. The girl's scream pierced the night. "No!" She rushed forward, her small hands glowing brighter. Her tears burned her cheeks. She tried to lift him, but his weight pressed heavy against her. "Run," he whispered, his voice raw with pain. "Go. Save yourself. Do not stay here." She shook her head violently, her voice breaking. "I will not leave you. You chose me. You claimed me. I will not throw you away." The alien leader sneered, raising his weapon high. "Then both of you will end here." His warriors moved closer, blades ready. The human tried to stand. His body shook, his blood dripped onto the stone, yet his eyes never wavered. He lifted his sword with both hands. Even as his arms failed him, his voice, though weak, thundered, "If you want her, you will pass through me first." The girl's heart shattered. She had never been worth anyone's fight. She had been called a mistake, a curse, but this human bled for her. He chose her. He refused to abandon her. The glow inside her surged like a storm. For years she had feared it. For years she had been told it was poison, but now she understood. It was not a curse, it was her strength. She stepped in front of the human, her small body glowing like a star. Her voice shook, but carried power. "You will not take him from me." The warriors hesitated, their steps faltered, the light burned their eyes. Her glow grew sharper, brighter, it wrapped around her like armor. The alien leader roared, "Foolish child, you cannot fight us." Her eyes flared. "I do not fight alone," she whispered, her glow pulsed, and the stones beneath their feet cracked. A wave of light exploded outward, striking the warriors. They stumbled back, their weapons falling. Some cried out in fear, others shielded their faces. The human stared, his body weak. but his heart surged with pride. She had chosen not to run, but to fight. The alien leader staggered but stood firm. His rage burned hotter. You think light makes you strong? You will burn everything, even him. The girl turned her gaze on him, her voice low, steady. No, my light will burn only those who wish harm, not him. The leader charged, his blade aimed at her chest. The human tried to rise, but his body failed. He shouted her name, though his voice broke. She raised her hands. The glow burst like lightning. The force struck the leader's blade aside. His armor cracked under the brilliance. He stumbled back, his scream echoing into the night. The remaining warriors faltered, fear filling their eyes. The cursed one had become something more. The worthless child now stood as a force their clan had always feared. The girl dropped to her knees, panting. Her glow flickered weakly. The human crawled toward her, his blood staining the stones. He pulled her into his arms, his voice strained but gentle. You did it. She shook her head, tears streaming. No, we did it, together. For a long moment, the ruins were silent. Only the sound of their breathing, the faint crackle of dying fire, and the retreating steps of defeated warriors filled the air. But the battle was not truly over. The leader's shadow still lingered. His rage would not die so easily. And though the girl had awakened her strength, both knew the coming storm was far from finished. Yet in that moment, beneath the broken tower, the girl made her vow. Her voice whispered into the night, trembling but unbreakable. They discarded me as worthless, but I will never discard you, never. A new bond. The ruins lay quiet, the flames burning low. The cries of hunters had faded into the forest, leaving only silence. The girl sat beside the wounded man, pressing cloth against his bleeding side. Her small hands trembled, her silver eyes filled with determination. She whispered again and again, "Do not die, please do not die." The human groaned softly, his eyes heavy, but he was still alive. Every breath he took felt like a battle, but he refused to surrender. The girl leaned closer, her voice breaking. "You cannot leave me. You are the only one who saw me as more than prey." The man looked at her weakly, his lips curved in a faint smile. "You are not prey, not to me. You are a reason." His words sank deep into her heart, warmer than the fire that flickered near them. For the first time, she did not see herself as helpless. She was part of something greater, bound to someone who had risked everything. The night dragged on, long and cold. The girl gathered leaves, herbs, and water from the ruins. She pressed them against his wounds as best as she could. She had never cared for a human before, but tonight it felt natural. Every time he stirred in pain, she whispered songs her mother once sang. The same songs that calmed children when storms shook the skies. The human listened in silence, his eyes half closed. The sound of her voice carried him through the pain, like a fragile thread of hope. When dawn broke, the forest glowed golden. Mist lifted slowly, and the ruins seemed less haunted. The girl stood and looked at the horizon. Her people were out there, waiting for her return. But her chest felt heavy, her heart pulled toward the wounded man. She could leave him, run back to her tribe. Yet the thought made her stomach twist with guilt. He had chosen to protect her, even when death stood close. How could she abandon him now? The man opened his eyes as sunlight touched the stones. His voice was weak but steady. "You should go, find your people, you will be safe." The girl shook her head fiercely. "No, if I go, I live with their lies. If I stay, I live with truth." He frowned, confused by her words. "What truth?" he asked quietly. She touched his hand, her eyes shining bright. "The truth that not all humans are monsters. The truth that kindness can grow even in blood." His chest rose and fell with a long sigh. "You speak like someone older than you are," he said. She smiled faintly, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Maybe the forest made me older last night." Her words were small but strong. The human closed his eyes, a tiny laugh escaping his lips. For the first time in years, laughter touched his heart. And it came not from survival, but from connection. Days passed slowly as he healed. The girl hunted fruits and roots, brought water, kept the fire alive. She watched over him, refusing to let the darkness take him. Sometimes he told her stories, of his lost home, of stars beyond the forest. Sometimes she told him stories too, of her people, of songs sung under silver moons. Their voices filled the ruins, chasing away the silence of old ghosts. And in those stories, trust grew like a seed stronger than fear, stronger than hunger. By the time he could walk again, the bond between them was unbreakable. He looked at her as more than a frightened alien girl. He looked at her as a companion, someone who had stood with him when even death circled. And she looked at him as more than a hunter. She looked at him as a protector, maybe even as family. They had fought, bled, and survived together. And survival had turned strangers into something closer than kin. One evening, as the sun fell behind the trees, the man stood with his pack ready, his eyes on the horizon. "Where will you go now?" the girl asked softly. He shrugged, his voice calm. "Where the road takes me. I have no home." The girl's throat tightened, her heart pulling in two directions, toward her people and toward him. But she whispered, steady and clear, "Then I will walk where you walk, because I cannot return to lies." He turned, shocked by her words. "You would leave your people?" he asked. She nodded, her eyes steady. "They will never believe my truth. They will never see you as I see you. But I do, and I choose this path." The man stared at her, silent, his heart heavy but strangely light. At last he nodded slowly. "Then we walk together," he said. And so, under the fading sun, a human and an alien girl stepped into the forest. Not as captor and captive, not as predator and prey, but as companions bound by choice, not fear. The forest whispered around them, carrying their steps forward. Neither knew where the road would lead, but both knew this. Sometimes the greatest bond is born not from blood, not from tribe, not from fate, but from the moment two broken souls decide to stand together.